Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the journalists joining us here in person and those online for this press conference with the President of the 76th session of the General Assembly, Mr. Abdulla Shahid. The President has some opening remarks, and then he will take your questions. While we know each other, I would appreciate it if you could just introduce yourselves when I call on you, please. And again, I will moderate, so please let me know if you would like to ask a question. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce President Shahid.
A very good morning to all of you. It's a pleasure to be with you today. Welcome to those of you here in person and for those of you online. I was last in this briefing room on 1st October, and since then, so many things have happened, and I have a lot to update you on. I've spoken with some of you in the hallways and at the United Nations Correspondent Association Gala. As I have told you, both individually and at the Gala, your work is essential. You tell the world what the United Nations is doing or not doing. Continue keeping my spokesperson and me on our toes. And for me, that includes literally. I could always use the extra inches in height. In all seriousness, my dear friends, know that I will always stand up for your rights to report what is accurate and unbiased. Before I take your questions, allow me to outline a bit of what has happened during these past few months. You know, I have promised a Presidency of Hope built on 5 rays of hope. On the first 2 rays, recovering from the pandemic and rebuilding sustainably, let me be very clear. Our only respite from COVID-19 is to successfully ensure vaccine access for everyone, everywhere. No one is safe until everyone is safe. I've been advocating this point since the start of the session, and I have recently escalated this effort. At the moment, I'm working on the New Year's resolution on vaccines. My hope is to get all 193 member states on board by January to coincide with the high-level event on vaccine equity here in New York. That event is going to be on the 13th of January. I sincerely hope that you will help promote and cover this event, as this issue affects all of us. Our goal is to ensure equitable access and subsequent delivery of vaccines to everyone, everywhere, at the earliest. I want to see renewed political commitment and meaningful engagement to ensure universal vaccination. I also promised to respond to the needs of the planet. On 26th of October, I held a thematic debate on delivering climate action for people, planet, and prosperity. The event was about showcasing solutions, about highlighting the fact that humanity has the skills, the technologies, the resources to combat climate change. We simply are not applying them adequately, efficiently, or at scale. I took the message from that event with me to Glasgow to COP26. Frankly, COP26 did not meet everyone's expectations, but it did continue to push us in the right direction. As part of Glasgow Climate Pact, the 1.5 target is alive, even if it is on life support. That is a reason to be optimistic. A personal highlight in Glasgow was meeting with women scientists and listening to their stories of achievements and challenges. This brings me to my ray of hope on human rights. I'm a lifelong supporter of gender equality. My cabinet here at the UN is gender balanced. I have promised to only participate on panels that are gender balanced, and I take every opportunity to meet with women and girls, be that heads of state, heads of government, or women scientists, or civil society, or school children. I want to listen and learn about their experiences. I'm an ally and advocate for gender equality. I want to hear directly from women and girls what is it that will be most useful for them. I also believe it is imperative that we involve young people in what we do, and I am very proud of my Fellowship for Hope that was launched only weeks ago, and the successful candidates for which were just recently announced. Through this fellowship, 8 young diplomats will join my office starting January. They are coming from Antigua and Barbuda, Bhutan, Grenada, Guinea, Laos, PDR, Nauru, Uganda, and Zimbabwe. That is 5 women and 3 men. They will be attached to my office, working with my teams, and also take seminars and workshops organized by UNITA. I know they will contribute to the success of the Presidency of Hope, and more importantly, as a small islander who has seen and experienced the struggles of so many countries in keeping up with the rest of the world on the diplomatic stage, I know they will walk away with knowledge and skills to support their nations as true multilateralists. I would also like to see this program continue in the future General Assembly sessions, and we are putting in place the system and procedures and the architecture to help facilitate that. In terms of revitalizing the United Nations, I'm continuing to support the IGN process as well as revitalization of the General Assembly. I'm also supporting member states as they continue to deliberate on implementation of our common agenda. In November, I had the pleasure of hosting 150 plus civil society representatives in the General Assembly Hall, the first such engagement since the pandemic. And I'm glad that the UN headquarters will be reopened to civil society organizations starting January 2022. Throughout the session, I have maintained and built close ties with the President of ECOSOC and have coordination meetings regularly with the Secretary General and the Presidents of the Security Council. Looking ahead, my friends, and related to this, on 11th January, I will be holding a briefing to present my priorities for the resumed part to all member states, to be followed shortly thereafter by the Secretary General's report on the organization, as well as the joint statement with the President of ECOSOC. In terms of connecting with membership, I'm pleased also to have continued the process of my predecessors, hosting morning dialogues. This session, it is done under the name of Holoashi Dialogues, which is a Maldivian term. On the islands, we have this structure where the Maldivian island community would feel free to gather on discuss everything and anything under the sun or the moon, depending on the time you meet. And also there you can lie down, you can listen, you can take part in the discussion, or simply take a nap. We have had 5 so far, with 45 ambassadors in attendance, and I'm glad that none of the ambassadors took a nap. All of this is, of course, in addition to the work within the General Assembly Hall. I convened the 50th plenary meeting last Friday, 10th December. We have already had high-level meetings on Durban Declaration and Program of Action and on trafficking of persons. We have many more to come. I expect that all the reports of the main committees, with the exception of the 5th, will conclude this week. I'm working closely with the chair of the 5th committee to attend on time the recess date of 23rd December. Since we last spoke, I've traveled. I went to Glasgow and China and had very good meetings. My attention now is very much on the new year, on vaccine equity, on welcoming the new fellows to our team, on initiatives around tourism and around debt, which we are leading on, and on ensuring that we champion women and girls and a sustainable recovery at every turn. I think I've spoken too much even now. I would seem I have a lot to do. So let me stop here, and I would like to hear from you and hear your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The first question will go to the President of the UN Correspondents Association, Valeria Rebecco.
Thank you, Paulina. Thank you so much, Mr. President. Valeria Rebecco from ANSA Newswire. Let me thank you on behalf of ANCA for this press conference and wishing you all the best for the 2022. My question is, within your priorities and the priorities of the UN for the new year, which dossier, which topics do you think are you can get the more result and the first result in the next year? So within like the top priorities of you and the UN. Thank you so much.
My top priority, Valerie, is going to be on vaccines. And that is why I'm convening this meeting, high-level meeting, 13th January. That is why I want to make my New Year resolution on vaccine. I want member states, all the member states, to join me on this New Year resolution. One might say why I'm doing this. In my life, last several decades, I've had many New Year resolutions. But this time I'm choosing a more modest one. Vaccinate the world. I want everyone to join me. And I believe, I firmly believe that we have the capacity, international community has the capacity to do this. And it is so clear now that unless we can vaccinate the world, there is no way out of this. We are seeing different types of variants coming out, and this is going to continue. So we need collectively to get together and get this political unity come out. I'm hoping that January 13th we will be able to do it. Thank you, Valerie.
And please, just a reminder to introduce yourself.
Hi, Mr. President. This is Doja from China Central Television. Actually, I have two questions. The first question, we talked a lot about vaccination this morning. And we know that there's a UN objective to vaccinate 40% of the population by the end of this year and 70% by the middle of 2022, and it's already the end of this year. So how's the process going? And you talk about vaccine equity. So do you think that's the biggest challenge so far we're facing when we're talking about the UN objective? And the second question is, we know that last week, the Secretary General confirmed that he received the invitation of Beijing Olympic Winter Games from the IOC. Have you received any the invitation? And we know recently there are some people talking about diplomatic boycott of the Olympic Games. What's your thought? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vaccine equity. If you ask anyone, we do not have vaccine equity. Yes, the target was to vaccinate 40% by end of this year, 70% by mid of next year. Have we reached the targets? No. When you look at countries in Africa where you have an average vaccination rate of maximum 5 to 6%, then we are unable to say with confidence that we have reached anything near equity. So for us, for the 193 member states here at the United Nations, we should have this goal, one goal, vaccinate the world. Because unless we can vaccinate the world, economic recovery is not coming. Social, educational normalcy, returning to normalcy is not going to happen. Any degree of certainty to the way of life that we have had in the past is not going to happen. Yes, we can talk about the new normal and all these things, but when will a new variant hit us and the new normal will be pushed again further and further into the unknown territories? This we can't afford, and that is why we need to get together for the effort, the united effort to vaccinate the world. On the invitation to IOC, yes, I have received an invitation, and I will be making a decision very soon.
Thank you, sir. Philippe?
Thank you. Philippe Rater from AFP, Agence France Presse. Two questions, if I may. When do you expect the next meeting of the Credential Committee? Is it in 1 year? And my second question, can you give us a little update on the negotiation on the budget and the scale of contribution? Do you expect a big change in this scale? Thank you.
On the Credentials Committee, Philip, we have had the committee convene. They submitted their report to the General Assembly, and the General Assembly has adopted it. And on the next scheduled meeting will be decided by the chair of the Credentials Committee, and I will have to ask the Credentials Committee when they intend to meet again. And with that, I will have to come back to you. On the budget, I have been involved with the process of budget. From the beginning of the session, I have addressed the committee. I've been having regular meetings with the chair of the committee, Ambassador Margayan. I meet him regularly. Ambassador, the chair of the Fifth Committee, keeps me updated. I've also had meetings with the chair of the SABQ, and the target is to try and get the budget process completed by 23rd, so that we can go to recess by Christmas, as member states would prefer. I know that last year the budget went over into almost into the new year. It is not something that helps the United Nations at all. So every effort is being currently made to make sure that we complete this in time. You are right, we have two tasks with the budget committee, the Fifth Committee this time. One is the regular budget. The other one is the scale of assessment for countries. I will not be able to comment on the assessments as of yet, because the committee has not briefed me on this.
Abdulhamid?
Thank you, Paulina. Thank you, Mr. President. This is Abdulhamid Sayam from the Arabic daily Al-Quds Al-Arabi. I'd like to commend you on this message of hope you're sending to people around the world. And I just want to ask you how this message will resonate with people who still don't enjoy their right to self-determination and they're going through oppression. And I want to give you 3 examples that the people there want to see hope coming from the UN. The people of Kashmir in India, the people of Palestine, and the people of Western Sahara. All these 3 peoples had been classified as to have the right to self-determination according to UN resolution, GA resolution 1514 of 1960. If you recall this important resolution of decolonization, granting self-determination independence to peoples under foreign rules and colonial powers. So how do you have a message to those people who are still waiting to see some hope coming from the UN? Thank you.
Thank you, Abdulhamid. Yes, the Presidency of Hope is about giving hope to everyone around the world that it is possible to have a better tomorrow, that collectively we have the capacity, we have the means to promise a better tomorrow for future generations, that it is in our hands to make sure that our children and their children will have the confidence in multilateralism, that peaceful settlement of disputes is the way forward. Engagement through negotiations is the peaceful manner in which all issues can be settled. The Decolonization Committee, the 4th Committee report, was adopted at the General Assembly last week. I presided over the decolonization the fourth committee report. And I think the United Nations has kept itself abreast of all these issues. But as we know, from 1945 to now, 76 years, there is this process ongoing. The good thing is that the Decolonization Committee submits this report, and on most of the decolonization agenda, the self-determination agenda in the fourth committee is adopted by consensus at the committee as well as General Assembly. So I think, yes, there is great room for hope.
Lenka, please.
Paulina, my question is on masks. I was wondering, since everyone in the UN is supposed to be vaccinated, do you think we could be not wearing masks anymore? Thank you.
Well, number one, I would love to make a recommendation of it, but unfortunately, I'm simply the President of the General Assembly with no health background, so I think I should leave it to the health officials within the United Nations and the CDC and such people who have better knowledge of public health issues. It will be very, very unwise of me to go into these type of things that, number one, I don't know. Number two, I'm not supposed to make a decision on such things. I abide by the health recommendations and rules of professionals. And I think we should all abide by these recommendations and try to put this terrible, terrible pandemic behind us. Thank you.
Are there any additional questions for the President? Oh, Dulcie.
Thanks very much, Dulcie Leinbach from PAS Blue. I was just wondering what your thoughts are on the fact that the Security Council resolution on climate change was vetoed yesterday, and do you think the Security Council should drop the veto? Thanks.
The records of the United Nations show that the first time debate was held at the Security Council, that was in 2008, initiated by the UK under Foreign Secretary Beckett. I, as Foreign Minister, addressed the Security Council. That's 2008 and now 2021. Obviously, once again, we are able to see that it is an issue that we have not been able to come together. There is considerable divisiveness on the issue. And therefore, on such an important issue as climate change, I think more needs to be done to bring all partners on the same platform, on the same page. So I hope that the consultations will continue, dialogue will continue, so that all countries will be able to come to the same page.
Are there any other questions? Dilhamid?
Thank you again. Can you give us your opinion about the situation in Afghanistan and how can this country be brought back to the international community and address the chronic problems that it's facing? Thank you.
Hamid, I understand the OIC is going to have a meeting in Islamabad this December on the humanitarian assistance that the country requires. And the United Nations have been engaged with humanitarian assistance to Afghanistan. Secretary General convened a pledging conference early on, and we will continue to be engaged. And I think the manner in which the international community continues to be part of this issue is highly impressive, and we should do everything possible to assist the people of Afghanistan to overcome this crisis.
I don't see any additional questions, nor online. Sir, I commend you. It's very rare to answer all the questions in this briefing room, but you have done so.
Thank you. Thank you very much for taking interest in the United Nations General Assembly. And my appeal to you once again is let us put an extra effort into promoting vaccine equity. And join me in my New Year resolution, vaccinating the world. Join me in promoting the January 13th vaccination high-level meeting on vaccine. And I have every confidence that together we will be able to do it. And that is where my optimism comes. That is why I believe in a Presidency of Hope. Thank you very much. Thank you, my friends. Thank you.